had horrific gut health for 10 years, maybe longer. All these food reactions, all the bloat, all the things, leaky gut so bad. And this healed it like I have another friend who couldn't walk a mile without getting the runs. It's gone. Gluten intolerance, dairy intolerance, it heals that somehow. It's amazing what it does for your gut. If you've been watching, you know that I take my ingredients very seriously, but there are 3 companies that I have found that I absolutely love. Check the description for discount codes. Hey guys, welcome to today's show. My name is Adrian. If you're new here, I have been on a lifelong quest to manage my obesity and my autoimmune conditions and my metabolic health. And today I'm going to follow up with a talk that I had a couple weeks ago when I disclosed that I had added more tools to my toolbox. And what am I talking about? GLP-1, also known as Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, and Zepbound, Trizepatide, semaglutide. There's lots and lots of names. Today I wanted to follow up a little bit with a lot of questions that I get a lot and just kind of talk about that a little bit. But first I want to start with how did I end up on carnivore and am I still cool with carnivore? I love carnivore. I think eating meat is the most primal diet we have. It's the most satiating. It has the most bioavailable nutrients. I think that it is probably the optimal way to eat for most of us most of the time. Do you have to be full on carnivore? I don't know. I think, we ancestrally would have eaten non-GMO, non-sprayed seasonal plants. And so there's room for that. And I even feed my kids that. But I know I personally, with all the autoimmune that I have had, that I feel best if I cut the plants. I have less inflammatory, I have less gut responses, I have less indigestion, and I have way better mental health. It is the craziest thing. You cut the plants, and all the anxiety is just gone. So, why did I come to carnivore? I was on The Biggest Loser. I lose 66 pounds. I immediately gain 100 and have chronic fatigue. I then get all the way up. I start at 230, get down to 165-ish. I get back up to 265, and through pregnancies and preeclampsia and high blood pressure and all the things, I end up stop weighing myself at 330 pounds. That's when I realized that was it. 330 pounds. I was like, alcohol is in the way of this. Anything that's getting in the way of me losing this weight is out. And so I started running half marathons and restricting, and I lost 100 pounds all by myself, got down to 230, and then I started seeing that damn weight go up again. And I was like, I can't do this. So that's when I had gastric bypass. And this is something I completely regret to this day, but it has been the path to get to where I am. After gastric bypass, I got sick. I've had anemia and I've had chronic hypoglycemia ever since. So since then, I've been on a restrictive diet, a restriction diet, restrict as much as I can to get rid of this hypoglycemia. And I spent 10 years running and restricting in an attempt to lose weight. And I just got more and tired and more sick and more tired and more sick. And eventually I ended up compiling so many illnesses on top of each other. I ended up chronically inflamed and was debilitated, couldn't eat food without food reactions, couldn't get in and out of the shower, so tired. My arms and legs were going numb. I was having neuropathy. I was having all these things. That's when my family said, you should try the carnivore diet. It's really great for these autoimmune illnesses. And it was life-changing to go into carnivore to learn that food is nourishment. Food is not the enemy. Food is nourishment. And learning, about inflammatory foods versus non-inflammatory foods, learning about bioavailability of nutrients. People don't realize spinach is full of iron, but it's in a form we can't absorb. And so people are eating buckets of this and they're still anemic and they're getting inflammation and they're loading themselves with, lectins and oxalates and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I don't regret the carnivore thing, and especially because after having the gastric bypass and having so many life-altering complications from the surgery, I had had enough with medicine, and I had had enough. So if there was a natural way to heal what was going on with my body, I was going to find it. And it wouldn't matter what you told me I had to do, I was going to do it. What have I done? I've done the carnivore diet. I've done beef, butter, bacon, eggs. Then I took it a step further. I've tried fasting. I've tried incredible exercise like walking in the sun 4 hours a day plus lifting. I've tried sardine fasting. One time I think I ate sardines for 17 days straight. I've sardine fasted and fasted and fasted. And when all of that didn't work and my weight kept going up, despite all the things I was doing, despite having a zero carb diet, despite cutting the coffee and the dairy and the sweetener, and still my weight would go up. My final attempt at healing through food was the lion diet. And if you haven't heard of that, that is when you eat nothing but ruminant meat, salt, and water. And what is ruminant meat? It's the animals with multiple chambers in their stomach or multiple stomachs. That'd be like deer, elk, goat, bison, lamb, those animals. You eat that, salt, and water. And about 35 days in, my body kind of shut down. I gained 14 pounds of inflammation. So this lion diet caused great inflammation. Through all this, I'm also tackling some mold illness, and I'm suffering from perimenopause and so many things. At the end of lion diet, when it was like, this is actually making it worse, that's when I just sat back and thought, like, started thinking about things and started looking around and kind of questioning, like, what am I going to do? I just can't put my heart into another challenge. Over this year and a half, I probably did at least 10 challenges. So it's challenge after challenge after challenge, trying not to gain weight. And you would say, oh, well, it's because you're dieting. Well, no, I was tracking. I would eat 2,000 calories. This was fatty meat, good, healthy, bioavailable nutrients. This wasn't like fasting. This was just my body. Dr. Tina Moore says that the effects on the brain after you have significant weight loss, and I'm going to throw in there eating disorders, dieting. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a result of weight loss, but that dieting stuff, there's indications that it could permanently change the way that your brain functions and the way that your metabolism functions. And so now your effort does not equal your results because your body is slowing you down to preserve itself. I'm 18 years out of Biggest Loser and I still struggle not to gain weight. And people are like, maybe you need to change your macros. Maybe you got a reverse diet. Like through the last 18 years, there's been times when I wasn't on a diet, and I gain tons of weight every single time that I'm not on a diet. So I don't think it's a loss of reverse dieting. I don't think it's a lack of trying out my macros. I don't think it's a lack of challenges. I've concluded something is off. But the other thing that was going on in my mind is I see so many people in my family struggling. What if this is the ticket? What if walking 12 miles a day and sardine fasting would heal me? What about my son? What about those kids at school that have big pie faces because they're so inflamed? What about the 7 out of 10 Americans that are overweight and obese? I mean, is the solution really going to be to have 7 out of 10 Americans doing nothing but walking all day and eating nothing but sardines? That can't be the answer because it's just never going to happen. And the next question I had is, well, how come people can eat completely standard American diet? They'll eat 1 or 2 meals a day. My in-laws are a perfect example of this. They don't overeat, but they eat things that other people can't control. And they're fine, and they're full, and they're not obsessive, and they're not overweight, and they have energy and brain power. How come it's okay for them to eat it, but when I eat it with it struggling with those obesity, it's my fault I'm overweight? So things are starting to question. And then the biggest red flag was one of my friends who I admire so much because she is such a stellar carnivore. She does all the carnivore things. She doesn't have sweetener. She doesn't have dairy. She walks. She exercises every day. She gets sun. She gets sleep. She eats her meats. She eats mostly lots of red meat. And she had a heart attack. And I praise God. Actually, she had multiple heart attacks and she flatlined. And I praise God that she's okay. But that was just another indicator of what's going on here. And before you carnivore haters say, oh, it's because she's eating so much meat. Nope. One of my friends, Kelly Hogan, interviewed a Dr. Ovadia, who has a book called he's a heart surgeon, Keep You Off My Operating Table. And he actually said it's not the meat. She had underlying issues, and carnivore cannot alone cure everything. And when he said that, I was like, so maybe it can't cure all obesity. And then my next thing is we hear Judy Cho say, well, carnivore is a great tool in the toolbox if you're chronically inflamed, you have chronic inflammatory response syndrome, but it doesn't cure chronic inflammatory response syndrome. So here's another syndrome we know that I have that it doesn't cure. And then there's another thing in my head too of my husband, because with this chronic inflammatory response syndrome, you become very sensitive to water damaged buildings. And so it's optimal to not live in a water damaged building. And that just doesn't exist where I live. And so we moved 5 times, and this was affecting my marriage, all this moving, because my husband was saying, and my family was on board with him, you can't keep moving. You have to figure out a way to live in mold. And they even said, you need to find a. So, but what if you translate that? What they're trying to say is, Adrian, we have to find a way to become more resilient because this is the world we live in. I can't be having reactions when my kids come home from a moldy school. I can't be having reactions when my husband's working in a moldy garage and he comes home and sets his boots by the door. We have to figure out how to become more resilient. And that's when I was listening to Dr. Amy Horniman. I love listening to her. I have that perimenopause. I like to listen for the hormones. I also have Hashimoto's and, my low thyroid. And she was talking about the miracle of this peptide. So I go digging. I find Dr. Tina. I'm sorry if you already saw the video, you already know the story. And she was talking about the miracles of all the things that this cures. And I just decided I'm going to have to give it a try. But also, they talked about how this could heal your brain, this could heal arthritis, this can heal so many things, and it reduces your inflammation, and that is a problem for me. So I decided to give it a try. And I got to tell you, people will say, like some of the people who are very anti this will say, there's no long-term data. There's no long-term data. I can tell you with all the benefits I see that it's really, really hard to believe that all these benefits aren't going to add up to better health in the long term. Me sitting here inflamed with inflammation that is uncontrollable is only going to cause cancer and disease down the line. Me sitting here with perimenopause that's zapping my brain is only going to cause dementia and other issues down the line. Me sitting here with extra weight on my bones and continually fighting not being legitimately obese and that metabolic dysfunction. You are dysfunction on an underlying level when you cannot do anything but gain weight. If you breathe at all, and we're not talking carbs, we're talking like, I didn't walk 12 miles today, I gained 5 pounds. I had a little bit I put cream in my coffee. It was like a 5 pound weight gain. This summer, I started having dairy again and I gained 30 pounds. And I swear to you, I wasn't like binging dairy. It's just my body isn't processing energy properly. There's something wrong. And carnivore doesn't seem to be curing it. So my goal was to not have to ever use medicines, but after trying everything, after sardine diet, after lion diet, I knew more was going to be needed. So the first thing I added was thyroid medicine through my doctor. I take T3 only. Then next thing would be hormones. I added some progesterone. Those things seemed to be better, but something was still off. So when I added the GLP, it's been absolutely game changing. We can talk about all the changes, but one thing I never talk about, and I think it's very important to talk about this because I don't want people to have unrealistic expectations when they come in. I did have a little bit of side effect. And let me tell you what they were so you can just be prepared. First of all, I believe all side effects, are because you're dosed too high for your body. And what's good for your body is going to be different than what's for Susie's body. That's what's different for Jeff's body. It's going to be different in every person because I've seen it. Different people have different damage to their receptors and have different GLP deficiency. And that's right. They'll say there's no such thing as Ozempic deficiency. Yes, there is, actually. And once you try this, you know whether or not you have Ozempic deficiency or not. And the funny part is, it's not funny. I've had my leptin checked and it came back good. Why am I starving all the time then? Because when GLP is off, the other chemicals in the brain can't communicate properly. Okay, so where was I going with this? Oh, I wish I could go back. Sometimes I do that. So I come on, the side effects. So it came one day and I took it that day, maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 5 o'clock, my husband brings fresh Alaskan salmon and halibut home. And I have some. And immediately after I eat the halibut, I start having like a histamine reaction. My throat starts closing and my eyes start getting blinky and my voice starts sounding funny. So I took a little bit of Benadryl, but all night my heart was racing. And I actually wasn't going to say anything because to me, I've had this before as a limbic system issue. When you are chronically ill for years and you react to everything, including walking into a building, or you could be in a building and you walk into a bathroom and there's water damage on the ceiling and you don't know what's going on. You can't figure out why, but you're reacting. I mean, I was taking hits for years all over the place. If I had something with citric acid in it, my arms and legs would go numb. I mean, so when that happens repetitively, your body doesn't respond appropriate to things because it's in fight or flight all the time. So when I took this shot, I feel like I had fear because I put something new in my body and I didn't know, even though they're saying the way I'm doing it is going to be safe. I did a lot of research. I still just didn't know how my body was going to react. And so that first night, I had a lot of panic and my heart raced and I didn't sleep the first night. That's never returned since. What am I on? Week 15 now? It's never once returned, not one night, 1 minute, not ever. It has never returned. So I don't know if that's like a changing over thing, your body getting acclimated, or if it's my limbic system. So I'm just going to be honest about that. So the other thing that I had was like this 2 o'clock fatigue. Have you ever had that afternoon where you're like, ooh, I mean, I call it the I need a cup of coffee afternoon, which I don't, but do you know what I'm talking about? That 2 o'clock, I could really go for a nap. I had that for a little bit. Another thing is only when I fasted, I had a little bit of depression. But I tried fasting like 1 and 2 days here and there. It was a Dr. Jones thing. Keep your metabolism happy by fasting a couple of days and then being sure to feast the other. He doesn't call it feasting, but refeeding the other days. And when I did that, I had kind of a depression. And I have another friend who was on this at the same exact time doing it with me hand in hand. She had the same thing. If she didn't eat enough, she would have like this chemical depression. It wasn't a missing of food thing, it was a chemical depression. So those have been my side effects. Now, I have another family member who started on the exact same dose I did. So I'd actually say overall, I don't really have any reactions, honestly. Like all the things I'm telling you, I'm over exaggerating and it just wasn't that bad. But another family member was on the same dose, couldn't eat for a week. So they went down a third of what we started on. They cut it down by 2/3. And once they did that, they were fine. And they just went up really slow, just like me. So I would probably, I mean, I'm not giving medical advice, but if I were to start over again, I'd probably start at a quarter or a half. There's no reason to come in full throttle because you have nothing but time, which I want to talk to you about how we do this and what my goal is and what I would want other people to do. Okay, so that's the reactions though. When you're seeing all these people that look like zombies because they've lost all their muscle and they're not eating and they're nauseous, well, first of all, are you on semaglutide or Trizepatide? Are you on Ozempic or Zepbound? Because semaglutide has so much GLP-1 in it that it can upset your gut, and people report a lot of nausea on that one. That's an older version. If that's all you can afford, you can still hit your goals. Just go really slow, okay? Start real slow so that you don't have any nausea. I suggest Trizepatide. It has multiple things in it. It has a GIP and a GLP, and it just doesn't have that many side effects. And it's more effective because of the multiple antagonists that we're working with here. Okay, so anybody who's looking like a zombie, it's because they're I think either they've chosen to overdose themselves because they have this American idea that the less they eat, the better off they are, which is such an old-fashioned thing. Now we know that ruins your metabolism. We'll talk about that more in a minute, or they're following their doctor's advice and their doctor's going to dose them up, 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 up every 4 weeks, even if they can't eat, because that's what the studies say to do. And what's going on with the studies? The studies were the companies not requiring lifestyle changes, but attempting to prove that regardless of lifestyle change, we can lose weight on this. And so they dose you. quite a bit because that will ensure if you can't eat, surely will lose weight. Next thing, people will be like, oh, the muscle loss. And the truth is that it is no different than any other extreme diet. Every extreme diet, you lose muscle because it only takes minutes to turn muscle to energy. It takes hours to turn fat to energy. It's no different than gastric bypass. It's no different than any crash diet. If you lose weight fast, you are going to lose muscle. And so we want to stay low so we don't lose our muscle. And then another problem here is that doctors are not saying, they're saying, hey, you need to eat protein. They'll use the general word protein. But the truth of the matter is, proteins aren't created equal. I think people need to be eating meat. They need to be eating complete proteins with bioavailable nutrients, and plant proteins aren't super bioavailable nutrients and they're inflammatory. So we need to be eating meat and lifting and staying low. Okay. So one thing people have been saying is, well, gosh, I'm so worried about people overdosing themselves and hurting themselves. Well, first of all, if they follow the standard plan with the standard doctors, that's what they're doing. Don't do that. Work with Dr. Jones, work with Dr. Boz, work with someone else. Don't work with standard doctors who are going to dose you when you can't eat and they're going to turn you into a zombie and you lose all your muscle. My goal here, like one of my legitimate concerns here is just like you can kind of burn out your thyroid receptors with thyroid medicine and you can take too much bioidentical hormone, you can burn out your peptide receptors. And so we want to be as low as possible to stretch this out as long as we can, okay? So if you're going up every 4 weeks, you got 2.55, we're talking Trizepatide here, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 6 months, you can max your dose out. If you have a lot of weight to lose and you max out in 6 months, you have no place to go and you're gonna plateau. Don't burn out all the doses and leave yourself no place to go. We want to keep those receptors not so antagonized. You know, we're antagonizing them to get them to work, but if you antagonize them too much, they're gonna stop working and then this isn't gonna be a long-term solution for you. This is gonna be another fad diet that didn't work. And another thing, if you're burning those out so quick and you're not eating, you're putting yourself into starvation mode and you're also going to kill your metabolism. And if you're losing all your muscle, you're killing your metabolism and putting yourself at a lower metabolic rate when you end. So we don't want to burn it up, which is the standard route. And people will do that and then they'll be like, I just don't understand. I did the diet. I didn't eat much, and I followed the dosing schedule and now it doesn't matter what I can do. I can't lose weight and I'm starting to gain weight and I'm super, super hungry. So that's the consequence, guys. If you burn this out, your receptors aren't going to work. Your metabolism is going to die. Your muscle's going to be gone and you're going to have no place to go. You're going to be in a way worse position than when you started. That is a big concern because if you burn this out and it doesn't work for you and it's expensive and you get off of it, I mean, you've burned your receptors out. Now your GLP isn't working very good. It wasn't working good before and now it's really not working because you burned it up. So low and slow. Work with a Dr. Boz, work with a coach, I'm hoping to become a coach one day, I'm just saying. But I want to take some classes and really know what I'm talking about so I can really help people. So in the meantime, I want you to go to Dr. Jones. I want you to go with people who are going to tell you how to heal and how to make this a long-term solution for you. Another potential here is maybe cycling. I'm going to look into that. I know my friend Candace on the T of GLP, she is currently cycling. She has removed both GIP and GLP from her system completely, and she's going to add one and then kind of cycle. And I'm excited to see how that goes. But we want to make this a long-term tool, not just for weight loss. But tonight, Dr. Boz had the most exciting podcast. It's called 2024 Mistakes. And number 3 had me crying because she just got back from a conference and she said, I can't withhold this for my patients. This is too medicinal. This is going to heal so many things from your brain to your bones to your gut to your bowels, she said. This can, and she went into the brain things, and I'm feeling this. I couldn't have had this conversation with you. I couldn't remember things before. The brain, when you couple this with eating healthy and eating more of like a ketogenic diet, it is a level of autophagy we cannot and when you're not metabolically healthy, it's very difficult to achieve this level of autophagy in your brain and this level of healing. And that's why this could help with Parkinson's. That's why this can help with brain regeneration. And her exact words were something like, we aren't on a slope to health. We are on an elevator to healing and health. This is the elevator, you guys. It's not just about weight loss. I've heard some people say that we shouldn't allow people who only have 20 pounds to be on this. And my thing is that this heals so many things. I don't care if you have 0 pounds to lose. This could heal something for you. It could heal your brain. It could heal your cells. It could heal your insulin response. It could heal your muscle. There's gym bros that have been taking this for 20 years to help them rebuild their muscle. Why are people losing muscle? Dieting. All these things that they're linking to it. And I just cringe when I see carnivores posting it. Please stop. You dug into the studies for carnivore. Could you please look past the headlines for this as well? For example, the recent one, Ozempic causes erectile dysfunction and then you read beyond it, it turns out there's an extra 1% of erectile dysfunction in men taking Ozempic. And I would just laugh if it said women, because that's how ridiculous this is. Okay, so some people who are on Ozempic are working through their doctors. They're being overdosed. They cannot eat. They're losing muscle and they're malnourishing themselves. So perhaps that 1% is from that and not the healing peptide. Just a thought. Another misinformation that people keep sending me, and it's like, you guys, is there anything you won't believe? Is that they're filled with snake venom. Like, nobody should listen to artists. He's been a nut job for like 2 years, maybe 3 years. Like, I think he's planted to make us all look gullible and stupid. Like, I believed him. I did. I believed him when he said there was snake venom in the water. I'm not gonna lie, I believed it. But come on, people. So if this is snake venom, it's really good snake venom, and I'm willing to take it because it has reduced things that nothing else was even closely, remotely touching. But come on, people. Do we have to hate on everything? Do you understand all of the companies that have stuff to lose because of peptides? Once you open this Pandora's box, you're like, there's peptides to heal bones. There's peptides to heal joints. There's peptides to heal your brain. I believe we're not far off, and somebody probably knows, of a peptide that actually heals lipedema. I'm certain that exists because what it does is it antagonizes your cells to start functioning properly. And because they're like our body, apparently it's not patentable. How they got a patent, I don't know, but around the world it's being questioned and they're losing. So I wonder about these patents. I think that they're trying it because they know this is a golden jackpot of health and they had to at least try to get in on it. But I just wonder long term if these patents are going to fail, because it is something that is similar to our body. And I guess you can't patent vitamin D, you can't patent testosterone. I guess, I mean, I'm not a patent police here, but my understanding is this is a whole family of something that works with your body because your body is filled with this to heal it. I want to reiterate back, because my channel is about carnivore, that this really is a fad diet unless you're going to make lifestyle changes. You can absolutely intend to take this for the rest of your life, but because you're burning up your receptors, it's not necessarily going to be as effective your whole life. So without lifestyle changes, I believe you are most likely going to gain your weight back at some point. We don't know what that point is yet, because I know people who've been on this for 3 to 5 years and they haven't gained their weight back yet. But I question, at what point will you gain your weight back if you haven't made lifestyle choices? And yes, you are processing your energy better that you're putting in. So you can keep putting junk in, and your body is processing it better. You are more insulin sensitive. The communication inside your body is a whole lot better. But I still question if you're eating these foods that you're not going to still end up somehow dysfunctional just because your body doesn't know what to do with it. Like our body doesn't even recognize some of the things that we call food as being food. So, our community is going to be like, Adrian, why are you even talking about this? Because I think our community can be the community to show a healthy, healing way. We can show the muscle growth. We can show people thriving. We can show the healing. Are you going to get as much healing if you're in zombie mode, as Dr. Jones calls it, where you're starving yourself and you're malnourished and you're losing your muscle? Are you getting all the benefits of healing that you could be? Probably not. But I do want to talk about that before we just put down the right way and the wrong way. Pretty much everybody I've seen that's gotten on this, even if they went about it the wrong way, which is the way their doctor told them to do it, they got their life back. They started dealing with their body dysmorphia. They got confidence to be able to go back into society. They started moving their bodies again, all of them. They wanted to get out again. They wanted to start golfing again. They didn't want to do those things before. And who does when you're so heavy? You don't want to carry all that weight around and go lift weights and go bicycling and go out and feel all the flubber running around, and carrying it around is exhausting enough. So they started moving again. And I even had a family member who was plant-based come back and say, well, after I've lost this muscle and the strength, I see the value of eating meat. So can we say that's the wrong way? I mean, I feel like there were periods where I fasted too much and lost hair. Was that wrong when I was trying to heal myself and it didn't turn out optimally, or was that a lesson? So I'm just saying, it stinks that there isn't better advice out there. That's our opportunity to share that can be better. But on the other hand, there's still some net benefits. I think there is still some healing, and I still think people are getting their lives back. Now, if they've dosed themselves so much that they're just sick all the time, or if they're using this to, let's talk about eating disorders. Because one of my friends said, I'm very concerned about the people that I work with are very disordered. And I'm concerned that if they have access to this, that they're just going to use it to continue their disorder. And I have a couple thoughts on that. One is, we have seen it. We've seen people double dose themselves and end up with a frozen gut. No, it's temporary. And, we've seen people turn into zombies because they're not eating. We've seen it. But for a lot of people, they're reporting that for the first time in their life, and this is how I feel too, I have control over my eating. And having that control allows you to have control. People who are being disordered, sometimes it's out of desperation. I got to do whatever it takes to not be 300 pounds. And sometimes that's going to take some extreme things. It's going to take things that other people think are crazy, like eating sardines for 17 days straight. But when you get control of your eating and your body starts processing its energy properly and your brain starts healing, it's a relief. And so the other thing is, this really works on that addictive part of the brain. It's the craziest thing. It really does. And it's a silent thing. It's just, instead of having those intrusive thoughts all the time that you didn't even know were there, they're just kind of gone and you just go on with your life. It's not what I was expecting at all. I was expecting to feel nauseous and not want to eat. That's what I was expecting. If you've ever taken any diet drugs in your life, you don't feel great on them, but it's supposed to help you lose weight. So you grin and go, yay. I feel nothing. I just went on a cruise. I ate at least 2 meals a day and a snack every single day, and decent meals of steak. I ate my whole steak there. I don't think any of my steak went to waste. A little bit of grit, but no steak. I ate a lot of food. So I think if done right, you can still eat. I do want to talk a little bit, I'm a little bit all over the place, but I want to talk a little bit about metabolism. What has been so wonderful is that for the first time, I don't have to do extreme things. Let's say I'm having, which I don't really anymore because I've been on the same dose for a while. Let's say you're having a little bit more suppression for a couple days than other days. Those days for a while, I was kind of leaning into a calorie deficit, so 1,500 calories. But then the other days, I was just eating at maintenance. And I still see a downward trend. So this seems to be amazing
for my metabolism. And I mean, I'm only 3 months in. I'll let you know how it continues to go. But like my lowest consistent weight has been 142. So let's go with the numbers. 330, run and restrict 230, gastric bypass, I get down to like 165, but I immediately go up to 185. And I spend the next 10 years hovering 185, 195, 175, 195, 175. And before I came carnivore, I was back into the 200s. Carnivore, I get down to 150. The lowest I ever got was 153, but immediately bounced up to 163. And when I look, I think that I'm like maintaining 158, which is lower than my 165. But as I looked back, because I had a scale that just kept it, I really was in the 170s over and over. And in between every challenge, I was back in the 170s. So I'm carnivoring, I'm feeling better in so many ways, but my weight is still. And then this summer, I just stopped walking so much and I ate some dairy and I was back into the 180s. And that's when I stopped weighing myself. So carnivore in the end didn't end up being much better than gastric bypass in a weight-wise. Healing and nourishment wise, it's way better, but weight wise, it wasn't much different. So I go on GOP and, I'm 184. I do actually a Marie Emmerich challenge. I get down to 176, but I start going back up already, like even during her challenge. Like my body was fighting me during a very low fat, pretty low calorie challenge. So it's just so ridiculous that I thought everything was my fault and lack of effort. Anyway, I start GOP. I lose 15 pounds of inflammation in 2 weeks. Like I just peed around the clock. So now we're down to like 161 and we're like 14, 15 weeks in and it just keeps going down, down. Never a number I saw with carnivore. And so I'm actually finally leaning out, like for real. And I don't have to do crazy things. I can just eat my meat, walk and move my body, take care of my kids, and go on with life. And it's still working. I don't come back with a high my A1C is 5.6, which some doctors would say is actually borderline pre-diabetic. And that's carnivore, a 5.6 on carnivore. So it's not healing my underlying insulin dysfunction, I'm going to call it. I personally believe, after experiencing what I've experienced, that there is something off in the brain in people who are addicts, and it's not a therapy thing. It's an actual chemical thing is off in the brain. And I believe that there is something off with our insulin sensitivity. And I don't think that's fixable through carnivore. I know, you're all mad at me right now for saying that. I think in some people who are having some insulin resistance because of their lifestyle changes, and this is mostly only men, they're able to reverse it through diet. I've seen that. I've seen men lose their weight on carnivore and keep it off, and they look great and they're like hunky, and it was just kind of a whoosh. It wasn't like oh my gosh, I need to do 10 challenges and change my macros and starve myself and walk and do all the things. They just kind of no. It just worked for them. And those are the people who, carnivore does work for. But and keto. But if you're struggling, you have to go through challenge after challenge. And you're told you just need to change your macros. You just need to exercise more. You just need more sun. You just need to start sleeping better. You need a mouth tape. You need to get your blue blockers. You need to see the sunrise. You need to get rid of the mold. If it's really hard, there's something off. Because people who are metabolically healthy don't have to be perfect and they don't have to play with all this crap. So those are my warnings are you can absolutely burn your receptors up. You can burn through all your doses. You can plateau. You can burn up all your muscle. And that leaves you no place to go. Way worse off. Dosing, the side effects are because people are dosing. Some people can honestly only handle a quarter of the starting dose, period. That's all they can handle. So if you're having nausea at a low dose, it's not low enough for you. That's my opinion. So this is how I store my peptides. I put them in, I call it the cheese drawer. It's right in the middle of the fridge, in the front, not the back, not the top, not the bottom, in the middle, in the front. Okay? How do I keep it safe? I got one of these Wi-Fi thermometers. You want to keep it between 36 and 46 degrees. You do not want these to freeze. They will not be effective. I'd rather that they're a little bit warm than freeze, because freezing is bad, where they can get a little less potent and warm, but you got a little bit. But 36 to 46, you want to keep them you don't want them in the light. You want them out of the light. You want them safe. These are very thin vials. They break super easy. you want to take care of these. And this is cheap. Like I think this was $34 and this was 12. Okay. And you probably don't need a big one like this if you're not stocking up for 6 months because you're worried about the FDA taking it away. So I one time ordered some wellness shots because there's different things you can through these different telehealth providers. You can add vitamins, you can add different things. Okay. So I ordered that, and that's what I keep my syringes in here, or my syringes. You can order these on Amazon. I highly suggest ordering extra because if you're gonna go low and slow, you are gonna need more needles than what they send you because they're gonna send you saying this is 10 weeks, but maybe you can stretch it out to 15. Who knows? And I order extra wipes, and also Amazon has like a vial. They put a little bit of extra in there. You don't want to throw it away. It's expensive. So you can pop the top open when you get to the bottom and you can't get any more out. Not until then, because you obviously don't want to open it up. Now it's going to go bad. You can pull the extra out. There's even some auto injection. If you're like, I hate injections, I have an idea for you. I don't have it here. I'd have to send you a link to something where you stick it in something and you hit a button and it just goes, and it injects right in you real quick, real easy. The name brand has a pen. So that's how I store my things, just a little thing. If you're wondering, where in the heck could I get this if I wanted to give it a try? I have a couple ideas for you. If you're like lower dose, I'd go to Lavender Sky Health. They have the best prices and they're so easy to work with and they're great communicators. And after you've been with them for a while, they have like extended dose packaging. I like that. I'm not stuck with them. I don't have to refill every 3 weeks because that's awful. And then you wonder, is my medicine going to come in time? Instead, they can fill 10 weeks at a time. They're really easy to work with, super, super nice. And they have other wellness options too. I really like that. Another one is joinmochi.com. And Join Mochi is great if you're on some of the upper doses because they charge you the same amount every month, no matter what your dose is. So that's everybody else ups you up your dose, you up your price. So I really like that. I have a code. I'll put it down below. And if you use my code, it's like 6 something. You save $40 off your first order. Let's say you fall in love with it. Okay. Let's say everybody's like, oh my gosh, you look so good. Why are you so happy? They'll give you a coupon too. And then you can tell them, oh, I got this from Mochi. And then you can save on your future prescriptions. That's kind of nice to be able to save money when, I've heard some people say, I've said, I know this is expensive. It can be anywhere from $100 a month to $250 a month just to get started. Depends on which route you take. But other people have said, listen, I've spent so much money on Weight Watchers, on Ally, ALLI, on Nutrisystem, on gosh, what's that recent one? There's a recent one where they send you like bars and you eat the bars 6 times a day and then you lose tons of weight, but you gain it all back because it's absolute junk food and you're basically starving yourself. It's like a lean and green or something. I don't remember what that company was called. We've bought all the things throughout time. I mean, heck, I bought like every Biggest Loser thing that there ever was too, we've spent so much money trying to lose this weight. I really think that you can get rid of everything else and just eat your meat, get some sun, move your body, and take a little bit of peptide, just little bits. And you're like, oh, it's an injection. I hate finger pricks. When you're drawing your blood, I hate that way worse than these little tiny needles. Like you just don't even feel it. I'm the one that doesn't look when they draw blood. I go like this. This isn't like that, you guys. This is so easy. And I remember people saying that, and I was like, there's no way. If I have to inject myself, in the first shot, I was like, I had the EBGBs, so I did it. After that, it's been so easy. So anyway, that's my ramble for today. I really see so much benefit in this. I think this can help so many people, coupled with lifestyle changes. I love, a lot of people in my community have already made a ton of changes. And so you're coming from the other side. Like some people don't make those changes until afterwards. You've already made the changes, a lot of people that are watching this. You have been doing the hard work. You are willing to do hard things. And you just need a little assistance because something is off that food alone sometimes can't fix. So I appreciate you watching. If there's anything you'd like me to cover on this topic in the future, please put it below and let me know what your comments are about my ramble. And if there's anything else I can talk about or what you think, have you considered this? Have you looked into this? Have you seen my playlist, GLP-1 Favorites, which is filled with doctors who talk about the medicinal benefits and how to avoid the side effects? But anyway, I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share. I'd love to get to 5,000 so I can make that list and help everybody else. So All right, have a great night. Bye.